Hey, thanks for joining me today on this episode of the Verbal Echo podcast. We get to listen to real people's stories of insight, grit, endurance, and maybe a little bit of I can't believe that really happened to you. I'm your host, Monica Martin. Let's get to it. Hey, welcome to an episode of the Verbal Echo podcast. I have my friend Asher Wright here. He is amazing. I got to speak with him a couple of weeks ago and be on his podcast, the Pandora's Awareness podcast. He's got a couple of books out. And I just want to tell you a little bit about Asher. He is a retired U.S. Army veteran, co-founder of Life Changing Wisdom Coach and co-author of the Demi Divine Book Series. He invested the first 22 years of his adult life serving in the U.S. military. His next frontier is devoted to mastering the state of authorship and expanding people's subjective well-being through collecting stories and circulating life-changing wisdom. He loves outdoor sports, including snowboarding, biking, and scuba diving. His personal philosophy is, I am too selfish with my traumas to have you visit them, but I'm very generous with my treasures, so I choose to share them with you. He's got some ongoing projects. He is currently immersed in spreading the word on his last two books, and we're going to hear about those. And then he's got some upcoming work that promises to be a source of inspiration for individuals seeking to find beauty and growth, even in life's most challenging moments. So welcome, Asher.
I get to hang out with my amazing, beautiful friend, Monica, today. My mountain friend. I get to hang out with you today. Thank you for having me, Monica.
We have two amazing Colorado people here. You're kind of a flatlander, but I won't hold that against you.
A flatlander. That's a new one. Colorado Springs is not flatland. It's a bit of both, but yeah, you're a straight mountain though. That's right.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I don't know, like where I live, it's pretty flat. So I don't know. I drive in, I'm kind of in the hills, but I go into the hills every day and the mountains every day, but it's kind of flat where I'm at.
you know what's crazy? I gotta climb hill to get to you. So you're definitely on the hill. Even if the hilltop is flat, you're still on the hill.
That's true. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Yeah. Colorado Springs is pretty cool. It's really a pretty city. If anyone's ever been there or would like to go visit, I drove through it on my way back from Texas about a month ago, and I went through downtown Colorado Springs, and I thought, man, I've never been through this part of Colorado Springs. It was like the old town area. Really
beautiful.
Cool. Like
you're right. Beautiful. That's what my heart is there in Colorado Springs, man. It's a beautiful place to come back to be there. It's a lovely place, and it's growing so fast. Oh my God! Like it's funny because I'm here in Connecticut with my parents, visiting my parents right now. And I remember when I first moved to Connecticut from Jamaica, and I was like, man, this place is, a lot of buildings, just like the concrete jungle kind of deal. And I'm in Hartford, Connecticut. But then I left. I've been away for 22 years. I came back. The place looked the same. Like not much change happened in the city area. But in Colorado Springs, I lived for 4 years and came back, and that place has changed big time. So that place is growing so fast compared to where I'm here right now. So I got to give kudos to Colorado Springs for their fast growing scene that they're setting up right now down there.
Yeah, it's really a neat city. There's so much. Well, there's the military. Is it a training facility? I can't remember. Well,
they got a lot of bases. They got the Air Force, they got the Army, they got everybody there. They got Fort Carson, they got Peterson Air Force Base, they got Air Force Academy. They got a lot of military areas in Colorado Springs. So that place is going to be there for a while, and they're going to keep growing because,
Yeah, a lot of military folks, a lot of family-oriented things going on there. And yeah, it was really cool driving through downtown. There was like farmers market and all these little shops. Yeah. It was really, really cool place. So yeah. So yeah, we got a couple of Colorado people here. They're going to spread some love for our home state.
Yeah. Better. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Right. But just don't drive. I don't know. Traffic on I-70 can get really a little hectic in the winter. Lots of memes out there about that. Well,
Mm.
Asher, tell us about, you have a new book out and you are on a goal, I believe. Tell us a little bit about your goal to release, I think you said a book every year or something
Well,
like that.
here it goes. It's 86 books by my 86th birthday. So 43 years from now, I should finish my 86 book goal. That's the long vision. But I feel like I'm moving faster because I'm working on my third book right now, actually. So it's like I get one on, I'm just gonna keep putting on. Because what I do is, so the first book is called Turning Traumas into Treasure, and like all the ideas are in that book to write my next 83 more books. They're in that one book. So now that's, I go back every like I sit down every day, figure out how do I expand on these ideas, explain them some more, help people fit their story into the tools that are in there, and that's what I'm been focusing on today. How do I simplify this some more? How do I simplify this some more? How do I expand on this? The stories that I'm hearing from people, how do I fit their story into these tools? And that's what my mind been working on when I wake up in the morning. So I get up in the morning, I go ride my bike, I'll get my sweat on, and I sit back and I sit down and I think about how do I figure out how to fit people's stories into these tools and system. And that's what I've been doing. My life gonna be filled with that project. Just working on that the rest of my life, and I enjoy it. I enjoy it because everybody, that's what in life. What we're doing, we're looking for tools to fit our story into it. Because these tools and system, when you think about a tool or a system, it's really a concept that you use to connect the dots of your story. And I love this quote by, I think, Steve Jobs, that says, "You can't connect the dot by looking forward. You gotta connect the dot by looking backwards." So when you think about your own story and trying to figure out how you connect the dots or the things that are unique about you, that are great about you, into these tools and systems, then your story starting to make sense. So that's what I'm like. My days feel of trying to figure that out for other people and for myself too, because I'm also fitting my story into these tools to make my life a little more simple as well. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure that you've had so many crazy stories from, I mean, I've assumed you've interviewed so many people by now to put these
Mm-hmm.
books together. And I think it's really, you guys have to check out his information and the content that he's putting out. It's beyond a life purpose at this point, I think, because you're
Mm-hmm.
bringing other people into your inner circle. And
Mm-hmm.
I was just wondering if you had, like, I know you can't, yeah, tell us if there's something that's really been an impression on you from maybe an individual story that's really made an impression.
That's a very deep personal question.
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of really good stories out there.
Here is, I would use my parents' story, so to speak, because that's what really, I'm a personalized one, because maybe other people can relate to their own journey too. Because oftentimes you can see your story in the people that are very close to you. This is the reason why they're around you, because you attract them. So my parents, for example, my mom, she had a really really unique way of growing up, kind of like. So just imagine if you're a 34-year-old woman right now. Just imagine being 34 years old and already had 9 kids. And just imagine being a modern day father right now and don't have a formal education. So growing up at 34 years old, my mom already had 9 kids. Growing up, my dad didn't have a formal education. He didn't go to school because he lost both his parents by the age of 10. So they had a lot of challenges. So I look at their story. So how can I find empowerment in my parents' story and other people around me story? Because I'm looking at their history, their past. I'm connecting that in their story and see how it set in motion my journey, my story. And a lot of the stuff happened because my dad didn't know to read growing up. And he applied his current capability at the time to really do a lot in life. Same with my mother. She had 9 kids. My mom was a hustler, so to speak. Like, my dad was a farmer, so whatever my dad planted, my mom sells. So my mom she had a business mind. She was finding a way to get things that she has, get them out there so she can feed her kids. Now, when I'm looking at my parents' journey, as far as the things that was a disadvantage to them, how they capitalize on their current capabilities, work together as a team, and accomplish what they accomplished, I got to look at my life the same way. Like, what is my excuse? No, I don't have an excuse, because what they went through, they were able to shape their future with the capability that they have at the time. So I got to seek really good capabilities to expand my own story now. And that's why I do a lot of reading. So you be talking about my book journey as far as writing a lot of books. Also, one of my other goals is to read a lot of books. So I do a lot of reading and listening to books. Because my goal is to do 1,000 books in 10 years. I started this journey back in 2016, 100 books a year. And now I'm on my 7th year. I'm almost 700 books. I got to do my spreadsheet to see where I'm at right now. But I think I'm already knocked up my 700 books. I got to go look at that. But it's where I really go out there and find people's story. They're empowering, and I use the people that are close to me. I got to tell my parents' story, their history, my grandparents' story. I got to tell their story, their history, the things they overcame, the thing they used to make life even more valuable to other people that surround them. And that's what I'm doing with my work right now. So I have a lot of tools. Like, I mean, even the second book that I pushed out is called Focus on Your Path. So I built it where it's like a guided journal type of deal where you and path is an acronym. It stands for a purpose, awareness, transformation, and healing, right? So those are the things that you get to focus on. Now we can talk about those, we can break them down a little bit, but that's I think to life. I create different systems, different tools to think my story through and figure out how do I focus my energy on the things that I need to focus my energy on. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. You mentioned that you like to talk about focus on your path, and you said it's an acronym that you've kind of created for purpose, awareness, transformation, and healing.
Yeah.
So what's that all about? And which book is this kind of relating to, or is it just
it's in the
your mission?
It's in the Demi Divine Book Series, and this one is this is what I created like a guided journal because it's dedicated to my daughter because she's about to start college next year. And I'm like, hey, young lady, it's time for you to go focus on your path. Right, this is your future. Now you got to work on it. So you got to think about your purpose. And a lot of people out there are challenged with purpose. That word is being used a lot. So if you think about the word purpose, what shows up for you? If you listen to this podcast, what shows up for you when you think about the word purpose? Because here's something that I was doing, which a lot of people are doing. Like, I got to find a purpose for my life. I got to find a purpose for my life. I had to reframe that question. I got to find a purpose in my life. Because the purpose is not out there. I got to create the purpose for my life. So the only way for me to really do that is take responsibility for everything that happens in my life. Because within your story is your purpose. How I find my purpose? So my purpose right now is how do I figure out how to master my dyslexic disorder or disability, my ADD disorder and disability. How do I master those things? Because when I was looking at my story, I was running for those things that felt like it was my weakness. Like man, I don't like how this thing's so hard for me. I'm like, let me stop running because the universe says, Asher, there's no way you're going to escape your ADD and dyslexia because I attach it to you like a fragrance, like a perfume. Wherever you run, it's going to be there with you, right? No matter how fast you run, it's with you the whole way. So I'm like, hold on, let me stop, think about these things. What can I do about these things that are so challenging, feel like such a disadvantage or disability to me? What can I do about them? So I sit down and I sit down with my life. And you can have your audience do the same thing right now. Sit down right now and think about your life. Ask yourself this question. What's in your life that is not right? That you think is not right about your life right now? Whatever it is. And you can list them all out. And once you make the list of those things that are not right in your life, now you're like, okay, let me work on these things because now those things give you a purpose now. Right? You find a purpose in solving those things. And once you solve them, that gives you a lot more confidence in your journey because now, hey, I'm solving these things in my life that was hard, but now it seems like they're easy. And now I can help other people solve them. So now your life has a purpose. You find a purpose in your life. So examine your story, go back and look back at your journey, connect the dots, and then you're going to see the purpose and you can give it the purpose now because you're seeing stuff you got to solve. So that's the P part.
Yeah, I like that. You said something about running from challenges, and you were saying to just sit with those. And this makes me think about how in coaching we have people think about the obstacles or the challenges that they have, and instead of thinking of them as it's a bad thing, just think about them as how can you flip them or reframe them into strengths.
Okay. So here's the thing. Let me explain some more a little bit here. So we often try looking for something to do, something to fix, something to work on. And the universe is like, you don't have to look for it. I already gave it to you. Right? It's the thing that in your life that you struggle with the most. I gave it to you. So if you showed up and I go find the things for you to work on, the purpose for your life, it's gonna be a hard search. The universe didn't do that. It said, hey, you showed up with those things already. The biggest problem that in the world of fix, you already got one of them. Fix that one and you find purpose now. So then I look at my life the same way. Like, hey, what are the things that's not right about my life? And the ADD and dyslexia was those two things that popped up. A lot of other things popped up. But I'm like, let me work on these things. Let me find a way to master them. And you're going to find a lot of joy and pleasure once you start figuring them out. Like life becomes fun. Because once you've cleared them up, your life looks a lot more clearer. So that's what I encourage people to do right now. Like look at your stuff in your life. Like the things that you struggle with, you're here to master it. Like you can't escape it. No matter how you run, for the rest of your life, they're going to be a problem for you until you fix them. And that's when you find purpose in your life. If that answers your question.
It's almost like purpose finds you.
Yeah, it's already with you. It's already with you. You got them all. You've been carrying them around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that so his acronym is Purpose, Awareness, Transformation, and Healing. Mm-hmm. And so how does the healing fit in with all of these steps? Is that the last part, or is it kind of is it something that just happens organically, like while you're going through this transformation? Mm-hmm. Is it just, it's not something that just hits you over the head like, oh, I'm healed? Because I don't think we're ever truly healed. But is it just something that slowly grows, or what does healing, how does that fit in with this system?
It is healing is a continuous thing. I might have to share this idea I was thinking about this morning. See if I can figure out to explain it to you. Maybe, but let me explain the healing part. A lot of people are on this journey of healing, and it happens because throughout our life, like we have stuff that we're supposed to work on that we ignore, and they are traumatizing every day we think of them because we're not working on them, right? And because our body suppress some of those things that we're supposed to work on. And little by little, they shows up and you can work on them. But the healing part is a continuous thing. But it's kind of like the final thing that's gonna happen in the end. You're gonna end up healing from the things that you play a role doing that you're like, man, I didn't like that role. I just played this now. So I gotta heal myself to move into the next thing. So healing is continually happening. It's continuing. So here is I'm gonna share this analogy here because I was thinking about it this morning. And what if we showed up on this planet, right? What if we show up on this planet to play this game? And how this game is played is there's two things that happen. You can quit the game and restart over, or you can continue playing the game and work and carry on those scars and stuff that you experience while you're playing the game. So what if that's how the game is set up? But then somebody scares you into telling you that, hey, if you quit the game, it's gonna be hard. It's like you won't be able to come back if you quit the game. But you can always start over. You're gonna be starting over in the same place again. But it scares you into thinking that, hey, if you quit the game, you won't be able to come back. But you do come back and start the game again. But you will occupy the same state continually until you master that state and move to the next state. So I was thinking about this life we're living right now. I showed up, right, and I have choices because I'm in control of this whole thing. I can quit the game, still my choice, or I can keep playing the game and carry on with the things that I might not think that are going to work for me. So I'm playing this game continually, responsible for the whole play of this game. Now, you're playing this game because that's how life is set up. Like, you show up here on this planet. I'm speaking esoteric now. You show up on this planet, and you're playing a game, and you're in full control of the game. You can quit the game and restart over, or you keep going. But if you keep going, you gotta continue. You gotta heal, because you're on this path now, becoming more aware of the areas in your life that you're sleeping. Because that's what we are. We're just being waking up in the areas that we are sleeping. So the more you get aware, the more you wake up. The more things you face with the opposition, the more you get to transform. And then in the end, you can just keep healing your journey. So that's how we set up the game right now. So I see my life that same way. I'm on this journey, and nobody's going to scare me into thinking if I quit the game, if I die, I'm going to come back and play the game again. And in the first book I wrote, it's called Turning Traumas into Treasure. There's what we call the 8 major states of consciousness. And I'm working on the third book, which is going to explain that whole process even more. But it's the idea that the 8 major states of consciousness, which I think my state that I'm mastering right now is helpership. So if I didn't finish mastering that state and I quit the game, I'm come back and I still got to master the state of helpership until once I finish mastering that, I move to the state of healership, right? And I keep mastering. So different states set up the same way. And I got to explain this concept because since I mentioned it, I want to confuse your people. So when I talk about the major states of consciousness, the helpership, healership portion of it, it's really how the universe is set up. The universe is set up in different states. You got major state, minor state. So the major state are the one that kind of dictate what you're here to do, what you're here to master, what you're here to be. And in the minor state, you get to choose what you're here to do. So now my major state is healership. My minor state is authorship. And I get to create a lot more other minor state to kind of do my work in. So how do I really master healership? Is find things that I'm minor in. And I do those things, and they help me become more of a helper. And everybody got their own state to master. So I hope I didn't confuse anybody on that one. How it sound?
No, I'm thinking you were mentioning major and minor. It seems like major, and this is very much like tarot, is that it's the archetypes. You know, you have these archetypes: the healer, the hero, the teacher, the leader, you know, the victim, you know.
Yes.
So so it seems like that's kind of very similar to what you've tapped into. And then the minor kind of little tools to help you get where you want to go on this journey, on this path.
Yeah, so we are. There's a bunch of people that we are trying to explain them different ways, but we're going after the same thing. How do we come here, have the best experience, become awakened in the areas that we were sleeping, and then just kind of enjoy the journey and heal those things that we might have gotten hurt on doing, and just keep going until we end up in what they call the oneness state, where everybody become one again, right, with the universe. I mean, that's the journey, right?
That's so much like tarot. I'm a big tarot junkie.
You're a big tarot junkie?
Oh yeah, I love doing the oracle cards and tarot and all that intuitive stuff. Yeah, that's another podcast, but
that's another podcast.
Yeah, but that's really interesting that you have tapped into this. And you mentioned turn your traumas into treasures. So this is the book that you just released, the most recent one, or do you have? Book.
That's the first book. The second one, the second one is Focus on Your Path.
Focus on Your Path. And so does this all kind of tie in with all of the books? So you've got a Demi Divine Book Series, and all of these books are in this series, right? Yes.
So all my books are going to be around personal development. That's the thing that I'm here to work on. I'm going to keep working on it for the rest of my life, right? Personal development. And Demi Divine is just a series name for how do we really kind of capture all of these tools and systems that we're going to work, like kind of trying to simplify out for other people to use to fit their story into. And that's the journey right now. So Turning Traumas into Treasures was the first one. It has pretty much, like I say, it has pretty much all the ideas for my next 83 more books to write. They're in there. I just got to find a way to go back. So I'm going to use all the next 83 books to explain the first book. So that's how the spin is. Like, how do I go back into the first book? Because what I did, right, because my challenge was when I was reading a lot of books over the last 7 years, I collect a lot of stuff, a lot of stories, a lot of tools, a lot of system. And I kind of organize them for me. So I pretty much wrote the first book for myself. The first book was written for me so I can organize all the ideas I'm going to work on for the future. And I publish it. So now people can go in there and look at it like, maybe I can work on this idea myself, right? Because these ideas are not new. It's just different way of organizing them for people to fit their story into them. So I'm gonna look into it, see how differently can I organize them so I can help people fit their story into them so they can have the best experience in life. You know, so that's the real journey. Like my big vision is to really help people have a healthier self-narrative so it can expand their subjective well-being. And your well-being is subjective to you. And how can I help you really have the best experience of reality? I'm working on that for people using words and tools.
Words are so powerful. Not only does it make our voice, you know, like this podcast, writing, whatever it is, that's your voice. And so when you can get that out, who cares what everyone thinks about it? I mean, you hope that some people like it, you know, but someone told me once that if you get your message out, your content out, whether it's, you know, a podcast or you're talking or speaking or you're writing or whatever, when you get your message out, if you piss some people off, then and you align the right people with you, you're doing the right thing. And it's okay. Like, you're never going to make everyone believe the things that you want to share. And that's okay, because that just means that those people are just not in the same place, and you just have to roll on. And so I think that's a really interesting way to think about it. Like, go ahead and make some people upset. It's okay.
I think I heard this one quote. You're saying you can never say the wrong thing to the right people. And when I heard, I was like, you know what? We are all here to speak our message to certain people. Certain people we're just not the messenger for. So some people might listen to me and you right now, like, we don't get it, Asher, or I don't get it, Monica. That's okay. Because you can never say the wrong thing to the right person, because the right person is looking for something and they're like, oh, that's what I'm looking for. Like, when I was reading my books and somebody's story pops up, I'm like, I'm looking for that. That thing is been said for me. I'm writing that down. I'm capturing this right here. So yeah, some people I'm just not the messenger for. Doesn't matter how I sound, or I speak, or intelligent I sound, or wise I might sound, I still won't hit them, because I'm not the messenger for them. I might be the messenger for somebody to give them the message, but coming out of my mouth, I might not be the guy for them, and that's okay.
I think, yeah, it ultimately comes down to whatever your truth is, speak it, get it out.
Yes.
Because it will matter to the person who needs to hear it, and who needs that information, or that energy, or that wisdom, or whatever it is. Like, you cannot keep your voice, however your voice manifests, you cannot keep it closed. And the older you get, I think it's more important to get your voice out there.
Here's the beauty about podcasting. I think podcasting is going to revolutionize this world big time, because we're recording our own voice, we're recording our content. Because a big part of our journey, the healing part of our journey, is speaking to sharing. Sharing is such an amazing medicine. When people get to share what's on their mind or they feel, that's a big thing for them. Because here's something that I was asking this question to somebody. I was like, listen, when somebody says, like, if you say, Asher, you don't know me. Like, Asher, you don't know me. What you're really saying to me is, Asher, you don't know how I feel. And when your person get to share how you feel like the world knows you. And I realize that when people are saying, Asher, you don't know me, you don't get me. What they're saying, you don't get how I feel. And I'm going to say, I'm going to listen to. Tell me how you feel, because that's what you're trying to tell me. Because you think I know you when I know how you feel. So I always circle back to that when somebody says, man, you don't get it. Like, you're telling me I don't know how you feel. Tell me how you feel. Because you want to tell me that when people get to share their story, how they feel with the world, they feel empowered. So I congratulate anybody that started a podcast or sharing the journey, because that's a healing part of your story. And if you're sharing it, then everybody get to collectively see how people are doing things, and we can start connecting the dots, because a lot of these things are happening, in other people's experience. And when you start sharing your story, and like, oh my God, that sounds like what I'm going through right now. How did that person connect the dot? And overall, we all start doing this, planet going to explode, man. So much growth going to happen, because now the things are being captured and people can record and connect the dots. You're shaking your head. Oh my God. I know you like this.
Yes. Well, and I started listening to podcasts in 2017, and, I have some people that I follow, and I will say completely, it has changed my life, and it has opened me up to so many things. I can't even count the number of books that I've read, because podcasters have shared information with me. And the way that I see it is, I was meant to have that information. This has become my purpose. And so in my voice, before I started this podcast, it just became like all of my voice inside just started bottling up. I'm like, I have to start talking to people, because if I don't, man, I'm going to explode.
You're going to explode. Yes.
I'm going to explode with content. I just have to talk to people. And that's the thing, is like, I just want to hear people's stories. We have to get this knowledge, this wisdom. Wisdom comes from everyone. Everyone has a story, and every story is just, it's such a fountain of wisdom and truth. And I think that's how it's just going to shape the world. So I'm really honored to be able to do this. And I'm honored to have people like you who are kind of spearheading this wisdom thing. It's so cool. Yeah.
I'm gonna tap on wisdom. I'm gonna tap on wisdom with you here because I like this. Is wisdom is my highest value. I consider myself a wisdom coach, and here is the beauty about this process. Everybody kind of understand talk therapy. Most people been to talk therapy. They went through that process. But something I'm adding because wisdom means application to me. So I think about it as application therapy. So the things that you understand, the thing that you know, how do you apply those things? Because application is a lot of what people don't do these days. Like knowledge is everywhere. They get it and they get stuck with it and they are afraid to use it. I'm like, you gotta get the application therapy going for yourself. Apply the things you know because that's what activate the nervous system in your body, the application piece of it. You gotta do it. Right? The mind gets it, but the body gotta get it too. And you gotta put it in your body by doing it, by moving it in your system. So I realized that. I mean, I came from the military. I do an organization. We do a lot of stuff. Like somebody put a plan together, you go do it. Like, oh man, that was great. That was fun. But now in your mind, you got a plan, but then you got to execute it. You got to apply it. So work on the application therapy part of it, not just the talk therapy. Did that make any sense to you?
I like that. Yeah. Here's a little fun question for you. So since you're an evolving author, do you have any advice for, because I'm kind of assuming that there are a lot of people out there that have an idea for a book, or maybe their information is bubbling up and they're going to explode and they want to get this information out. And they're thinking, like, I'm not into the whole podcasting, but I want to write, And so do you have some advice for people who maybe they want to put out a little book or whatever and just start on that journey? Do you have any advice for people who are thinking about it?
Oh, totally. This is a good question. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Here is another tool. I'm a tool maker, by the way. You guys are going to hear me. You're going to, Asher, you putting out too much tool, Asher. Slow down, man. This is too much. But here goes another tool. You got to think about it. I call it the 5C complex. And how this come about was on my journey of reading and listening to a lot of books. I would listen to two guys that popped to mind. I'm going to share these two guys, John C. Maxwell and Dan Sullivan. So I would listen to John C. Maxwell. He read a lot of books. And I would hear how he organized his mindset around collecting the data he was collecting so he doesn't get the writer's block thing that that most people get. It was like I organize these folders, and when I read something, I kind of organize, I collect the information, I write a lot of notes down. I'm like, So instead of me just listen to books and let it go to my brain, I start writing down. So if something hits me in my forehead, smack me in my face, I'm writing that down. My brain says, Asher, stop, write that down because I don't want that one resonate with you. So I do that. I write a lot of notes. So I got Google Documents out there. The wazoo with information I've recorded over those 700 books I've listened to and read so far. And then that's so I create this 5C complex idea. Let me explain Dan Sullivan. So Dan Sullivan also did something. He said something I liked. He was like, I study Shakespeare writing. He was saying, I listen to Shakespeare stuff, I read Shakespeare stuff, and I practice writing like Shakespeare. So we're saying that he would copy Shakespeare stuff and write it out, just get his fingers writing the stuff that he read from Shakespeare. Because he was saying that Shakespeare used, 2-word syllables a lot. So he makes stuff very simple. He was like, I gotta get my mind to think simplicity like Shakespeare does. I'm like, interesting. So now what I did for myself is I create what I call a 5C complex. The first C is I collect a lot of data. I collect a lot of data, and you already know that data doesn't tell a story. We need a human being to tell a story. We are a meaning-making machine. We're storytellers. But data, I collect a lot of data. So now when I collect that data, I copy from that data what resonate with me. And then from the data I copied, I create something of my own. And with these things that I create, it gives me a lot of clarity now. Because all we're looking for is that clarity in the things that we are working on, our story. So when I get the clarity, then now I get to celebrate that whole process of collecting, copying, creating, getting clarity. Now I get to celebrate that whole process. So now when I'm reading books, I'm looking for that thing. How can I collect a lot of content? How do I copy from it the things that resonate with me? Then I get to create something of my own, and boom, I get a lot of clarity. Because the more you write your story up, the more you can explain your life journey to other people. And I learned that because my brain is all over the place. I got ADD and dyslexia. I'm all over the place most of the time. But once I start finding my story fit into these tools, my brain start to calm down. Because I got a lot of ideas. That's one thing about the ADD brain and dyslexia. Very creative, a lot of ideas. But once I use these tools, I fit my story into them, my story start making sense to other people because now I got to explain to them. So that's what I do. So now if you're a writer, that might help you, because once you start organizing your story, then I use what tell you the story, right? So when my first book I wrote, it took me a whole year after I retired from the military. I took a year sabbatical. I sit down, I start going over my past, examine, start connecting that. And I start writing. And my book was horrible for, like, I was just writing stuff out. It took a while for me to organize it. So when I hired editors and stuff, they were like, Asher. So when I turned my book in, I think it was like 120,000 words or something like that. She was like, Asher, that's too many words. Nobody's going to read this too long. You got to cut it at least in half. I'm like, what? What do you mean cut? Like, I'm like, is it how long it take me to get this out of me? But she was like, yes, but she was talking about, I think there was like a Kindle study or something that says when it comes to personal development book, most people only read up to like 80 pages. I'm like, ooh, okay. So now I really need to make my book short, because if I can simplify it in 80 pages, I'll be good. But anyway, I was going on this journey as far as figuring out how do I do the 5C complex, collect these things, use it to kind of explain my story. Now, after I wrote my first book, I came across ChatGPT. And some people are a little iffy about it, so forth and so on. But that platform was built for my brain, right? Because I got a lot of ideas. Like, I sit down every day, so much idea come to mind, but I got to find a way to organize them. ChatGPT help me with that now. So you're a person that very creative, right? If you know how to ask really good question, which I'm very good at, I know what I'm looking for, I know what I want. It's just that it takes me a lot of time to organize it because my brain is all over the place sometimes. But now ChatGPT is designed to get me structured, because I was hunting for these tools to get my mind structured. But now ChatGPT even add more value to that, because now I get to expand on my story through that system. So I use ChatGPT now. It's going to help me write my next 80 something books. Because when I first set this goal to write 86 books by my 86th birthday, I had no idea I was going to do it. Like, no clue. But I'm like, I'm going to get there somewhere. Because when I first started the journey of reading a list of 100 books, I didn't know I was going to do it until I figured it out. And I removed a lot of things out of my life, and that's, the process becomes a lot more simple. I can do it. So now I know I can get my 86 book done now, because there's system and tools out there. I just don't know about them. And once I start finding them, life becomes simpler. My story becomes clearer. So that's how I would answer that question for you.
Yeah. And you turned me on to ChatGPT, and I tell you, I suffer with attention problems too. And they're not problems, they're strengths, because I think people who have attention focus are some of the most creative people. And it's really a strength. You just have to take a little bit of time to learn. Like, if you have it as a child and you struggle with it in school or whatever, you have to learn how to use it in a different way and how it can be your friend. Attention problems and focus thinking, it can be a really good friend. And creativity, it goes right along with having like ADD and that sort of thing. And there's the people that I know that have it, man, they amaze me in the things that they do. They're so driven, and they have so much focus, which is it's the conundrum. Like, you have so much focus that you don't realize you have until you see it as a strength, because then you go down these rabbit holes and you can just dig into information. And it's almost like the people who don't have it are the ones that are challenged, because they don't have that ability. They get frustrated, they walk away, whatever. But people with focus problems, they know how to like use it as a tool. Like, okay, now I'm really gonna to go down this rabbit hole. And you come out with these gifts, these treasures, I guess would be a good way to say it, right?
You're onto something here. You're onto something here, because here's something I would explain to people, because I do coaching on, specific on like folks with AD and dyslexia, because I understand the challenge that they went through. I went through some of the same challenges. But here's the thing, like, you're right about this. When we focus, we're hyper focused. Like, something when I'm on it, but if I love it, I'm in it. Like, you can't get me out of it, right? But the things that I'm not so great at, I don't love, I get distracted easy because I'm not enjoying them. So I realize that my skill set is I do get focused on the things I love. The things I don't like, I get distracted on them. So I just gotta realize what those things that I love and just keep doing more of those. And I get a lot done, because now I'm writing, I'm figuring out how to write better, and the ideas that I'm thinking about, I get to frame them even better. I'm focused. Like, I'm sitting here, like, I'm on my third book. This year alone, right? I'm almost finished my third book, and I only started a year ago. because now I find out how to get my ideas organized. And I have a lot of them. I've been having them for years. I just didn't know to like streamline them. I didn't have the right kind of tool to fit them in. So you're a person with AD and dyslexia, you are gifted, my friend. Very gifted. You just haven't had a time to really focus the energy in a space that you love doing, working in. And once you figure that out, you find the right tool, you're going to achieve so much. So I encourage people, hey, find the tools in the system to help you fit your story into it even better, so life becomes a lot more easier.
Yeah, and the tools are out there. There's so many tools and technology now that you can just, I mean, you can literally Google, how do I focus? And you will get like 20 different software programs, apps that you can add to your phone. I mean, it's amazing. And it's cool that people have created this kind of stuff, like especially apps that you can put on your phone, because they felt like they had limitations, and they said, you know what, this kind of worked for me. I'm going to share this. And doesn't that become part of the voice that is bubbling up inside of you that you want to get out? You know, so they're sharing that with others.
Here's something as that the folks that are ADD and dyslexia might be thinking about too. So here's a challenge. Like technology is great, but technology doesn't coach itself. You're going to need a person. And I had to accept that in my life, man. No matter what kind of technology shows up, it doesn't coach itself. You're going to need somebody to coach you on the technology. Somebody got to study it, figure it out. And if you're a new start, they're going to like, hey, this is what it is. This is what it is. Right. But you oftentimes you need to coach on certain technology, because technology doesn't coach itself. And when I realized that, I'm like, okay, so everything I do, I'm trying something new. Like who's been doing this thing longer than I have? Who has more practice on this thing that can help me figure out how to get started? Because I might start, I'm like, this shit sucks. I don't get through it. I don't get past the bump. When you find somebody to coach you past the bump, you're like, okay, no, I got it. Right. And that's why I strongly believe in coaches, because in the military is one thing we always get the access to is, you know, somebody going to teach you the crawl method, the walk method, and the run method. And you always going to have access to that person to help you get to that part. And I come out in the civilian space, I'm like, the same thing is happening. Like most of the awesome people, they get somebody to coach them past the phase that they're going to quit. Because all you need somebody to coach you across the line, the quit line. There's a quit line. If you get past the quit line, you can keep going. But all the time, people doesn't get past the quit line because they don't have a coach. And that's what we all need. And I realized that. So I'm like, everything I'm doing, who's been doing this better than I am, longer than I am? Who's been practicing this thing longer than I am? Hey, man, help me get past the quit line. Once I get past the quit line, I'm good now.
Yeah, that's really good wisdom. You know, Bill Gates once said, everyone should have a coach. And my philosophy to that is, hey, if you could have figured this out on your own, you would have already done it. And coaching is not telling you what to do. It's a lot of reflecting your own words back to you so that you can hear them. And I think that's part of that voice thing, because when you are stuck in your own thoughts and you're ruminating and you're on this hamster wheel of, let's say, I'm trying to get fit, or whatever it is, or I'm trying to write a book or whatever it is, you get stuck in that hamster wheel of, okay, I really want to do this thing. I really want to do this thing. But it's, I want, and then when you have someone that reflects that back to you, you hear those words and it lights a fire in it. It changes the dynamic and it helps you move forward or change directions or whatever it is that you need to do. You have to hear those words. And when they're stuck in your head, they're just stuck there.
This is the beauty of writing. The beauty of writing, for if somebody want to write books, whatever, this is a thing. I used to hate when somebody fill out this assessment, fill out this form. I used to hate it. Oh my God, I used to hate it. But then I realized the importance of filling out a form, writing stuff down, is to organize your thinking. Because in your head, it's all over the place. In my head, it's all over the place. When I write it down, I get to look at it objectively. Oh, that's what it looks like. Just like when you speak, when somebody reflect back to you, this is what it sounds like. Oh, that's what I sound like. But in my head, it doesn't sound like that. But on paper, it sounds different. In the spoken word, it sounds different. So you're like, whoa, that's what the word is hearing? That's what the word is seeing? Now you're like, oh, I gotta correct that. But in your mind, it makes sense. Like in my head, all my crazy stuff, a lot of ideas make sense. When I try to explain to people, like, Ash, I don't get it. I'm like, damn. But in my head, I get it. But you don't get it. So I got to figure out, how do I synthesize this thing into something that you can understand? How do I create a tool that way you can kind of follow? because that's how we tell our story, share what's in our mind, express what's in us, the voice that's in us. If the inner voice align with the outer voice, life becomes way more empowering. And that's what we all need to speak and write, because writing is not a form of speaking.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
Mm.
So, where can people find out about your wisdom coaching?
I have a website called www.lifechangingwisdom.com. And the book series is going to be housed at www.demidivine.com. That's the series name. I'm trying to put all my book under that same series. So I got 4 pillars for the Demi Divine Book Series. I got mental intercourse, spiritual intercourse, physical intercourse, and social intercourse. Those are the pillars that I'm gonna write my books underneath. So the mental intercourse, I have 2 books on that pillar right now. I'm working on physical intercourse. I'm gonna put something on that one. But really, mental intercourse, like, we have this conversation, like when people think about the word intercourse, they think about sex and so forth and so on. But intercourse mean connection, right? How do I communicate? But still, these words and these concepts, they're gonna mind fuck you anyway, right? But it's there to help you really have a really amazing mental intercourse with yourself, with your own story. So I'm trying to create the structure for that. So you can get my information on the website. And the books, they're going to be on Amazon. Everything I put out, I'm published through Amazon. Really simple, really process so people can get to it. And then I have my podcast where I do the audio version of the stuff I'm putting out too.
Yeah, and your podcast, it's called Pandora's Awareness. And
Yes.
you also, are you releasing it on YouTube also?
Oh, the YouTube, I got to work on that one. I haven't put nothing on YouTube much right now. So mostly,
Oh, okay.
I'm on my Instagram. On Instagram is asher.ra.sta. That's my Instagram handle. And I put it on Instagram and Facebook too. My Instagram feed into my Facebook. So that's the 2 platform I'm putting out. So I got to work on YouTube. I got to figure out how to edit my stuff and put on YouTube. It takes a lot of work, but I'm working on it slowly but surely. Just like you got to take your time to get there. So I don't have a team that big yet to really help me get all this stuff out there.
Right. I have a team of me, myself, and I. So
yeah.
Yeah, just me. So I'm doing really good about getting these episodes out pretty quick, though. It's kind of my goal. Like, I get them, I record them, I try to get them out in a couple of days, and yeah, it's pretty cool. We just got on Apple Podcasts last night,
Nice.
so
Congratulations.
I'm manifesting this big time. So everybody, definitely like it on Apple. It's the metric I hear to get the podcast out there, and that's sort of my voice. I want to just get it out there and attract the right people. And so if anybody has a really cool story, definitely reach out to me. Yeah, but so your podcast, Pandora's Awareness. How long have you been doing that?
I started that. I retired from the United States Army April of 2022. I started on April of 2022, and I have a bunch of, because I think last 2 months I did about 50 recordings episode that I need to finish edit and post up. So I got to work on those. So I've been trying to build it up a little bit. I mean, I've been doing a lot of things at the same time: podcasting, writing the books, trying to build my business in other different areas, so forth and so on. So I'm working on it slowly, building my team, finding people to surround myself with that can help me move this thing forward, because I got big dreams, my friend. Big goals, big dreams. I'm going to share all of them with the world and see who can help me get these things moving.
I love it. And you have a co-host too for your podcast.
Yes, my amazing, beautiful friend Lavinia Grosanu. So she's she's Romanian. So I met her when she was in Romania. I had a Facebook group, Life Changing Wisdom. I was active in at one point in my last year, and we met. And then she moved from Romania to Tampa, so she lives in Tampa. She does mostly real estate stuff, but she kind of worked with me on the business that we're working on. So we kind of business partners and stuff. And she's done it, but she's awesome. We write the books together. We work on ideas together. She like my awesome thinking partner, get my ideas out, and we've been doing pretty good. So you can check her out too.
Yeah, and does she do some of the interviews also?
Yes. She come on the podcast with me. Not all of them, because we were trying to work on our areas, trying to get everything moving. So some days I can show up and she can't show up, and we're just kind of working. But yeah, most of the podcast, she's on it.
Interesting. Does she have her own stuff, or is this her own her main project that she's working on, other than selling some amazing real estate in Florida? It sounds like.
Yeah. So because she just moved here like 6 months ago, so she's trying to get that business up. So I'm like, hey man, take your time, go work on that, get some momentum going on that, get past the quit line with that one, right? Once you get past the quit line, we can kind of engage different ways. But so we're working on different stuff. So we
Yeah.
try to balance the time with properly. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. And so I will put all of the links if you want to find out more about Asher and all the projects he's working on, or get some information about how he can help you find your voice and turn some of those adversities into treasures. You can, I'll put his links down below. I have a fun question at the end, and I'm trying to find a little bit of craziness with everyone, because I think that's kind of a part of our story too, is
Mm-hmm.
we've all had so many of these experiences in life, and it's kind of fun to like think back and go, oh yeah, there was that time. So you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned that you are a scuba diver,
Ah.
and I was wondering if you have any crazy, weird, strange things that happened in any of your underwater adventures.
Oh my God. I think everybody had that experience where they was freaking out about getting eat underwater. Um,
Sharks.
but
I
that
love
that
it.
that was that was some of the earliest fears I had about, like, man, because I can swim, but without the floaties, I don't swim that long. Like I can swim, but because I can't float. Like I can't float for some reason. My body
You
doesn't
can't float.
float so well.
Come
Yeah,
on. You can't
no,
float. I mean,
I can.
everybody
I
can
can.
float. Like, what are you made of? Rocks? Bricks?
Yeah, it feels like
That's
it.
okay.
It,
All right, keep
it
going.
feels
I'm ready.
it feels like it. Yeah. So because I can't float, I have a little small little paranoia fear with me. I'm like, man, if I get trapped out here for too long, I can only float for so long before I'm like, some people just lay there and it's like float. Asher doesn't do that. I have to keep moving my
Uh,
arm. I can float a little bit, move my arm a little bit, move my leg a little bit. So I know I'm gonna get tired, right? So I love being with the floaties. But definitely scuba diving. I used to go. Man, I used to have good fun. When I was in Cuba, me and the guys over there, we had some really good dives, man. Oh my God, Cuba got really beautiful reefs. And we used to get off work either in the evening, go night diving, or in the weekend go dive, get a couple of dives, get the boat, go out there and go dive. But we always out there playing around and just going down there and come back up, chasing fish around. I mean, I had some really good time, man. Really good time diving. And I'm in Colorado. I'm in the States now. Really, I'm not close to the tropics, but when I get back to the tropics, definitely scuba diving again, because that's like one of the best things. But here's something that it's not funny, but it's something that I I I realized that really changed my life a bit with scuba diving. Scuba diving gave me this gift. So if you guys familiar with this guy named Sadhguru, he's like an Indian yogi. And I love this guy. But I hear him talk one time. He was saying that some days I don't even think. I'm like, bro, you don't think? But anyway, I didn't believe or disbelieve him. I just like, oh, interesting. I wonder if I can do that. Anyway, so I started practicing sitting down there meditating, just sitting to myself, kind of got down to like two thoughts. I'm like, well, interesting. This guy's really onto something here. What if I can get to no thoughts? Anyway, just sitting around, I didn't get there. But when I was scuba diving one day, because I already got over the fear of being eaten in the ocean and stuff, because that's one fear everybody got to get over. Something will eat me or I'm going to drown out here, right? I got over that fear. But I was out there, my buddies just floating around. And one of these days I was down there and I caught myself, like, whoa, I wasn't thinking this whole, like, where was my mind at this whole time? I wasn't thinking, I was just floating. Then I was like, oh, Sadhguru is right. You can have no thoughts. You can't control all your thoughts. And now that changed my life, because now I'm like, hold on. So everything that I'm thinking about, I am really controlling. And I cannot think them. And after that, the runaway thoughts, all this crazy stuff that happen in your mind, like, oh, I can't control these things. I'm like, oh, I can control it. Let's gotta figure out how to do it. And that scuba diving experience taught me that it's possible. And once I realized it's possible, it affirmed what Sadhguru was saying. My life had changed big time. So now my thoughts are the things I want to think about. So when I get up in the morning, I sit outside in my back there. I'm writing my story down, you know, figure out my day. I'm controlling all my thoughts. What I need to think about now. How far I need to think down the road on these things. And that's what's life changing for me. That's what I will leave you with.
I love it. And I will tell you that I'm deathly afraid of sharks. my, I have some friends. Well, my son's in North Carolina, and I have some friends in North Carolina now. And I just got invited to go to the beach this fall. And what do? The first thing I do, I go on Google Maps and I zoom in on the ocean coastline, and I'm like, all right, there's some sharks here. I know it. And then and then my friend tells me, oh yeah, you don't want to go in the water there. It's like one of the shark hotspots. So I will get in. I'm hilarious. I will have I will get in up to my knees, maybe my hips, and that's it. However, that being said, I love snorkeling. I got to go snorkeling in some really cool places. Jamaica, for one thing. Hawaii. Yeah. Oh gosh, it was so beautiful. Oh my gosh, you guys, if you ever get a chance to go to Jamaica, some of the most beautiful. Oh gosh, I can't even describe. Yes. Oh my gosh, so beautiful. Hawaii, I got to go to Puerto Rico, I got to go to the Bahamas. I mean, it's just snorkeling is just such a cool thing, and but I don't have the guts to go scuba diving. So yeah. Sharks.
Speaking of the Bahamas, so I did a scuba dive in the Bahamas, and the Bahamas, they got this area where I forget the name of it, but they had a lot of sharks. I mean, maybe they call it Sharks Cove or something. I can't remember. But I got over my fear of sharks in the Bahamas because they had the area where they have a lot of sharks, and they take you down there, and you get to sit on the bottom of the ocean, and they bring the sharks around. So this guy came down. He have like the food into this. He had on this mesh suit, right? Like metal suit, whatever, mesh suit. So the shark came to bite him. So then he brought this food down into this can, and all the tourists, all of us, the scuba divers, go to the bottom. We sat down there, and then they open the can and bring all the sharks. The sharks are swimming by. You can touch them and stuff, right? So I did that because, yeah, you're right. Sometimes you might like sharks on it, but I realized that sharks really don't mess with you that much, really. They don't. Even when I was in Cuba, the reef sharks, we used to see them all the time. They were sitting under the reefs just hanging out, right? We swim by them, right? So it's like, they're there, but sharks is not going to eat you unless you something really happened different. So I didn't get scared of them anymore. I'm like, I'm overcome my fear of sharks when I'm in the water because I did that dive in the Bahamas with the sharks. And that these things are interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Listen to you. They're interesting. No, they have teeth. They're like big. They eat things. They eat people. They.
Listen, the movies give shark a bad rap, man.
Yeah, Jaws. We all watched that. From the 1970s. So crazy.
They give the sharks a bad rap, man. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, that's it. I'm gonna put the Jaws theme music at the beginning of this episode. That's it. That's how we're gonna end. No, I'm gonna put that on the end.
Yeah.
All right. Sure. Thank you, Asher, so much for coming on. You guys definitely check out all of Asher's projects, his book. Jump on over to his podcast. Have a listen. He's releasing a bunch of new episodes coming up, and he's really got some great wisdom to share. And I want to thank you, Asher, so much for coming on.
At your service, my friend. Thank you so much for inviting me, and to your listeners, make it an awesome day. Make it an awesome day.
Thanks, Asher. Today, be sure and hit that subscribe or follow button wherever you listen to great pod content. I'd love it if you could tell a friend about this podcast, and you can find any links mentioned by my guest or by me in the show notes below. Our music is Funk Beats by Ecolix, and you can find them on the Audio Jungle. I'll catch you next time around. See you soon.